Good Tuesday morning to you. I am Dan Kopp of Leading Like a Buffalo and also part of the Enhanced Leadership Project. Normally, I would toss it to my co-host, Ty Firsching, but Ty is having some technical difficulties today. As you may have heard in previous episodes, Ty is in Entebbe, Uganda, and at times he's got some technical issues. And today happens to be one of them. He's been battling some lack of power issues, and he was just able to successfully join us. Good morning, Ty. Apparently not. He can't hear me yet. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
All right. Good morning. How are you today?
I'm well. How are you doing, Dan? Great to be
all
here.
Right. I was just explaining to our audience that you are challenged at times with technology, power, Wi-Fi connectivity, internet connectivity, etc. But you are able to figure it out today, and here you are.
Here I am in all my glory. Great. Always got to remain positive when you're dealing with technology, because as soon as you don't, you start getting frustrated with it. You're the only one being emotional. The technology is not getting frustrating back with you. So you got to keep a level head, and it comes through at times. So anyway, I'm here.
I never thought of it that way. Yeah, the technology is just doing what humans told it to do, typically, if we're not using AI anyway. And they're not. Right. It's not frustrated. I never thought of it that way. That's funny because I get frustrated all the time. Why isn't it working?
Well, there you have it. A new perspective arguing with technology. So.
Right on. All right. Well, today's topic we'll get into in a minute. I'd like to remind you, if you are on with us live, feel free to interact with us. Drop in a comment, ask questions. If you've got questions, we'll do our best to answer them live on air. And if you like our content, feel free to jump over on our YouTube channel, the Enhanced Leadership Project, and check out our previous episodes. If you'd like to work with us and join the Enhanced Leadership Project, more coming on that next week. We are starting a cohort soon. If you'd like to join us, feel free to DM us or contact us directly. And as soon as I figure out how to get that back on the screen, our emails are at the bottom of the screen, which I had up earlier, and I took them off for some reason. Dan at leadingbuffalo.com and Ty at tradesecrets.com. You can feel free to reach out to us and ask and inquire how you can join the Enhanced Leadership Project and level up your leadership and become an enhanced leader. So today's topic, how great leaders should communicate in 2025. I've got to tell you, appropriate communication and quality communication can make a leader. If you don't have it, it can really hurt you or it could destroy you, quite honestly. So we're going to talk about some situations and some strategies about communication today that will help you succeed. So I want to start with the basics and from the base level of interacting and communicating with employees. Let's talk about new hires. Whether you're a solopreneur and expanding with your first new hires, or you work in an established organization or company, which you constantly are bringing on new people. So let's talk about the onboarding process. Onboarding should be well thought out and comprehensive and with everything they need to know. Keeping that in mind, everything they need to know is quite a lot for most organizations. So think about the communication inherent in that, in what you are putting out. It's got to be comprehensive because they need to know literally everything from day one, whether it's company policies, where the bathroom is, what time's lunch, all the logistics that go into being a professional in your organization. Plus, they need to know the technical side of their job, how to log on, how to take time off. And here's the system for that. How do you get into your section of the job? Whatever the case may be, you're just throwing information after tidbit after tidbit onto them nonstop, and it's overwhelming. Most, if not all of us, have been in that position where we're being onboarded. We just feel like, oh my goodness, this is a lot of information. And most of the time, people are just trying to figure out, like, all right, where did they say the bathroom was? So it's overwhelming. So keep that in mind. You have to have a good onboarding process and communicate all your expectations, your policies, etc. I challenge you to keep that in mind 2, 3, 4 months down the road, when I would recommend that you revisit everything that you gave them during the first onboarding process, because I guarantee you there's a lot that gets filed away in the brain that they don't think about again. one thing that came to mind in organizations of which I've worked is like an employee assistance program. Those are great. I hope you have them. And you probably do a good job of telling people during the onboarding process, here it is, here's how you get access to it, etc. That's in one ear and out the other. These people just landed on their feet, got a new job with you. They're excited. The last thing they're thinking about is an employee assistance program. So you gave them the information, but now it's 7 months down the road, a year and a half down the road, 5 years down the road, and they've got an issue, whether it's a financial crisis, a sickness, they themselves, a loved one, whatever's going on that they need an employee assistance program. Do we even have one? Let alone how do I get access to it? So think of through that lens of how important it could be to revisit that information that you've put on them during onboarding. Then you revisit it 3 to 6 months down the road. Employee assistance program is just one minor example of the important things that you have to give them during the onboarding. So keeping track of, let's talk with that same lens, logistical stuff. You gave them, here's your benefits, here's your insurance, here's your dental, here's your vision, here's everything logistics wise, your benefits package that support your employment here and supplement your income. It's part of your complete package. That's great. You're giving them all that information, and theoretically at times things change. So when do you communicate change? You need to communicate about that stuff at least annually. So if there's no changes in any of your insurance, medical, dental, vision, etc., long-term health care, whatever you're giving them as an employee benefit, if there's no changes, you at the very least have to communicate that stuff annually. Keep them up to speed and keep them abreast of what is out there for them. If there are changes, communicate those changes. And if there are changes that are substantive, you've got to make sure they understand the changes. I did this once as a CEO of an organization, and I said, all right, here's communication. It was probably 15 numbers. Number one, explained out. Number two, explained out. Number three, explained out. There was a minor change in our dental that it changed what types of fillings were covered. But because I knew that could cost a little extra money out of pocket, I highlighted it in number 11. 2-sentence paragraph or statement with the highlighted portion. This could increase the cost too. It was highlighted in bold. It was there plain, like you just glance at the paper and see it. So I got beat up over that. How you hit that all the way down at the bottom of it. Look, even if you were a high school kid, at the very least, I would expect you to scan the page and at least look at the highlighted parts. I highlighted it for you, for crying out loud. What more can I do other than come to each person's classroom or office and say, here's an example of what we changed. Make sure you pay attention to this part that I already highlighted. So don't assume people understand all the stuff they're giving you or that you're giving them at the onset of onboarding. Once you do that onboarding, communicate it 2, 3, 4, 5 months down the road because they're no longer overwhelmed with being new. And then at least annually, you've got to communicate that same stuff, and especially if there are changes. So communication, you don't want their professionalism and their work output and their effort and their attitude to be affected about poor communication. So communicate, get all the management stuff out of their mind so they can focus on their jobs because you've communicated, they know what they have, they know how to access it, they know why they have it, what it costs, etc. All right, Ty, I rambled a little bit. What are your thoughts so far?
Well, you hit a lot, and I'm just going to go over point by point the ones I picked out, the ones I highlighted and bolded for my own edification.
Right on.
And you started talking about onboarding, which is right. And honestly, I had a different idea coming into this, so now I'm going this route. So I'll try and throw in what my idea about the Great Leaders Should Communicate topic was, because Dan and I, we come up with the topic right at the last minute. We don't prep for this, so we have these ideas. I love where Dan went with it, and the first thing he said was, you get a lot on onboarding, and if you don't revisit it, it's going to go out of the person's mind. And I always revert to the 10-day rule. If something isn't reinforced in 10 days, it's gone. So if there's something important in onboarding and the hiring process after you're hired and how you introduce all the material, there has to be some mode of how you are following up to ensure that these people get it, because they are inundated by information on an onboarding process. And let's talk about that, because we want the onboarding process. Do we inundate the people with it, or do we have a degree of specificity where we say what's important and then we revisit those topics in stuff needs to be done on the first couple of days. The hiring process, signatures need to be acquired, all this. But they get so much information. I doubt if one person can read all that information and synthesize it at the same time. So the degree of specificity has to be high, because you want to hit those points that are important. Like Dan was saying, he highlights it. Look, I highlighted it. How did you miss it? We start thinking about that, and we're like, well, yeah. And other things are important to some people that aren't important to others. Some people, their bottom line is, how much am I getting? And they could care less about the benefits. So they want to know what's in the bank account. And others care about the perks, what comes with that. So how do you manage that? And the onboarding process has a huge degree of management in its dissemination. But the great leaders know what is important for that new hire or that transfer to succeed down the road. And that's how we do it, is by gathering that information and putting it out there in a specific way that everybody has access to it at any time, and you follow up on it, because it's a living process. The onboarding process that people got 2 months ago is not going to be the same as this guy's getting tomorrow. If it is, you better watch out for those pitfalls that Dan was talking about. I agree with you 100%. Sometimes they're onboarding, oh, we got to change this. And if you don't change it, then you're hurting your own company and you're hurting the new hires. But if you change it, then you want to make sure that you let everybody know look, in the last new hire, we didn't cover this topic. That is awesome. I'm going to let you take it from there. And then I got some other things I want to talk about, but those are my two things.
I guess one thought came to mind when you're talking logistics, and I ran into this issue when it was various times when either my HR office or my finance office communicated to all of our employees regarding expectations or responsibilities, and do X, Y, and Z. This is what you need to do for this, whatever. Frequently, I'd run into vernacular coming out of those offices that if you're not in the HR world or the finance world, you had no idea what they were talking about. So every year I would remind them, hey, when you communicate X, Y, and Z, make sure people understand it. Don't use vernacular. And 2 weeks later, especially from my finance office, out would come all this stuff with heavily laden with vernacular that I had to have them go translate for people. So when you communicate, regardless what it is, make sure it's clear and concise. People don't want to open an email and read a tome. They want to see everything they need to see in that one. There it is. It's right there. I don't need to scroll. It's not a book in front of me. It's right there. It's clear, and it's in layperson's terms. Don't use vernacular if you can help it. If you do use vernacular, at least explain what you're talking about. And it's got to be clear so that people understand quickly. These are the expectations. These are the 7 steps. I understand what they expect of me. That is a way to definitely improve the culture by helping people understand what's expected. Yeah. Another, shifting gears completely, let's talk about communication when it comes to time to have less than happy discussions. Like there's a disciplinary issue, or you've made a decision and implemented it, and there's resistance. You've got to be open, clear, and honest about why a decision was made and why you took the steps you took. So if it's a disciplinary thing, or if you've enacted a rule that fell on deaf ears, or there was a huge uprising amongst the people you're leading, you've got to explain, hey, listen, maybe they're right, but if they're not right, and they're just assuming you had an ulterior motive, or you're assuming that, or they're assuming that you're out to get them, whatever, communicate with them. I've told my people for 30 some years, if you don't understand something I've done or said, ask me, because I will tell you what was going through my mind and what led to the decision. At the end of this discussion, I'm not guaranteeing you're going to agree with what I did or said, but you will at least understand it. And that is key to being a leader. You've got to clearly communicate expectations, decisions, statements you've made, whatever. Clearly communicate and let people know why you made the decisions you did. Because if you don't, we're all human. We like to fill in understandings. We like to understand things. And if we don't understand or know why a decision was made, we're going to collectively get in the coffee room, the break room, and we're going to talk about, oh, what did he or she do today? Oh, I bet it was because of X, Y, and Z. Communicate why you did the decision you did. Be open and honest. It doesn't guarantee people are going to like it, but they will at least understand it. So clear, concise, open, honest, frequency. Ty.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that honest part in, because there's a degree of authenticity that has to come from the top. And if the leader, whoever the leader is, whether it's department or the CEO, there has to be that degree of authenticity for anything to happen. That's why when I heard the title, I thought we were talking about, and what we talked about is great, but I wanted to add, with that authenticity, what about the mode of communication? Because you have all these different peripherals that you can use these days. You can be in person, you can be on Zoom, you can be on WhatsApp or any text messaging platform, and you can use email. And now we have AI. Can you actually authentically communicate using AI? Yes and no. Dan, what are your thoughts about, and I'll lay out a scenario, but what are your thoughts about using AI as a means of communicating your ideas? Because once you type it in to ChatGPT, you say, hey, I need to get this out to my people, and it's important. Can you say it with some empathy? Can you say it with that? And someone takes that letter and they pop it in an AI detector and they realize it's written by AI. What happens there? Does the CEO or whoever sent it lose their authenticity behind it because people realize, oh, they just popped it into AI and look, AI generated it? Or do they actually respect it because they went through the time to do it? I don't know. AI is getting a little strange in that realm, because I think you lose the authenticity and the reverence for the words that someone is saying if it's AI generated. So that's where I was headed initially, but I like this way the conversation is going.
Yeah, the AI concept, I struggle with it, because I can say, all right, AI, I want to cover these 7 bullet points succinctly as possible so people understand the process or understand what I was thinking. And then it comes off with something that covers what I wanted, but it puts it in a language that I wouldn't normally use. I don't know if that's authentic. I mean, I struggle with that. I don't know. I guess, I don't know. That's a good question. Boy, you threw me on that one. I struggle with it because I want to be authentic, and my job is to be authentic. And I don't think relying on artificial anything. It'd be like going like, hey, here's a sympathy card. I went and found one that fit you, an American greeting card here, and I signed my initials on it. Yay, save the $4.95, dude, whatever. Versus my heartfelt thoughts embedded in it, the notes embedded. Because when I get a card, I appreciate the thought, but I'm much more in tune with what people have handwritten versus what the verbiage is on the card itself. So there, I think, is the difference. I want the personalized touch, both as a leader and as a recipient of those things, is what I would think right off the top of my head.
Wow, I didn't even think about that, because you're right. Because basically we're dealing with putting something out there. And you hit the greeting cards, because if you remember back when greeting cards were all the rage in the 70s, and if you look through a scrapbook and you see greeting cards, they have a nice phrase written that people put, and they put their name.
Right.
But at that point in the world, that means someone went to the store and they looked through a lot of cards and took the time to pick one that fit you. And that's the way it was perceived.
Right.
Now It's not perceived that. In fact, there was a time where more greeting cards were blank. And we're talking about getting into the late 80s, early 90s, they were blank and people were writing their own. And now with AI, do you want the greeting card or do you want your own? And if someone realizes it's the greeting card AI generated or it's your own, they're gonna take it with how they perceive it to be, because everybody's gonna think different. You said something. If you're just getting bullet points out there, AI is great for the bullet points, bam, bam, bam. But if you're getting a message of something that happened in the department or a story, and you're using AI to tell it, then it takes away your storytelling capacity, which is really why you're in a leadership position anyway, because you have that ability to inspire others. AI isn't speaking the words out of your mouth. You are.
Right.
You know, your actions aren't coming from AI. Your actions are your own. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting in the next 10 years to see where this leads when it comes to leadership.
Yeah. One final thing I want to talk about is the method in which you communicate. And you sort of touched on that a few minutes ago. Let's talk about how you say end of year accolades. You know, the end of the fiscal year, we're going to give accolades. So some people revel in being brought up front and, hey, celebrate me, look at me, while others would prefer not even being in the room if you're going to mention them. So you've got to know your people. And you and I were brought up, treat others how you want to be treated. No, it's not that. It's treat others how they want to be treated. So if you've got a myriad of people you want to give accolades to at the end of your fiscal year, some of whom prefer being lauded in public and they want to be on the stage and jump it up and down, and great, bring them up. If they don't, and they prefer just an attaboy, go to their office, give an attaboy, and that's all they want, and don't even put my name in the annual program, whatever, do that. Anywhere in between. I had that happen to me about 10 years ago. I had a veteran retire, and he came to me beforehand and said, don't you dare even mention me at the end of the fiscal year meeting. I don't want it. Thank you for your service. You did a wonderful thing. Good luck. And I won't. So I didn't tell everybody I didn't, but I got beat up on the back end because people like, oh, how dare he not mention the guy who'd been here for X number of years and is now leaving. Oh my gosh, what an a-hole this guy is. I just adhered to his wishes because I knew him and I talked to him about it.
Yeah, but you wouldn't have known if he didn't come to you. That's the thing about it.
Well, so we were talking
you may have known, but you know, there's certain things when I was graduating college, I forget which one at the time, but I was not going to walk in graduation. I just wanted to get and move on and go on to the next level. And they found out about it, and I had done some work that I didn't know was important. It was important to me. I didn't know it was important to other people. And they're like, you have to walk. And I'm like, why? He goes, because you're getting an award. And I'm like, it's like 2 days or less than a week before graduation. I don't have time to get anything. So like, we'll take care of it. Don't worry. They went and bought my gown. They bought everything so I could walk, because I told them, I'm not walking. I'm walking. I'm walking out the door and going on with my education. Like, no, because we have it centered. You can't, you know, you don't understand. And I didn't realize the gravity of the award and the monetary donation that was going to the organization I was working with on because of the work I did. I had no clue. They didn't communicate to me. It was going to be a surprise. So you're right. You have to communicate to the people that you're going to call up first, and then see how they feel about it. Me, I showed up because, well, yeah, I guess I should go and do this, because it would have been empty otherwise. Anyway, I think it's a great topic, and communication is always evolving, as we've seen in the past couple decades, and how it's, whether it's video like you and I are doing now, in person, text messaging. You have to understand your audience, and you have to pick the topics best for that medium, because there's certain things that should be said in person and not in a video, or should be read aloud or read in person and not spoken to, depending on the context.
Right. Yeah. And I guess through that lens, just think about the times where you've encountered this concept, whether it's in your own mind or somebody's told you that. Did we have to have a staff meeting? Couldn't you just put that in an email? So that's basically what Ty's saying. What can go out in an email, what needs to be in person? And if it's in person, or if you need to push information out, is it an email? Is it in person? Is it a text? Is it going to their cubicle or their office? Is it in a large group? You've got to think that through and think about how they want to receive the information, not how you would want to receive it. Know your people, take care of them. Communication is key in that.
Yeah, I agree.
Right on. All right. Well, you heard it. Communication can make or break you as a leader, can definitely set you up for success, and it can also shorten your tenure if you're not good at it. So next time we will have a new topic. We're going to be talking about the Enhanced Leadership Project cohorts. We're going to be starting soon, so tune into that. And if you'd like to hear more about that, not only tune in next week, but also you can reach out to Ty at tradesecrets.com or me at Dan at leadingbuffalo.com. Or feel free to jump over on YouTube to the Enhanced Leadership Project. You can check out our previous content there as well. So until next time, we're just a couple of guys talking about leadership, and the great news is you can do it. Good luck.
Take care, everyone. Have a good day.